and how this game is being played or been played. The gig is up, right? So we ain't Africans, but they tell us we from Africa, right? We was already here, but they tell us they brought us here. They don't think that we know who we is and where we came from. They don't think that we recognize the real on the land, right? So I'm just going to go, we finna do a little history lesson according to the narrative they gave us. And then I'm going to point out some key points in the narrative that's going to make everybody be like, what the fuck did they just do to us? Right? So we know that on this land, they call this God's country. Right? Why do they call this God's country? Now hold that thought fixed in your mind for a minute. The Masonic lodges have members that's put out hundreds of books about the secret destiny of the United States, according to divine providence, or what they call God's law. Now, we finna dig up some dirt. Now, we're gonna go over a little history lesson. This is the narrative they want us to stay on the timeline of. So around 7 AD, some guy was born, and he lived 33 years, and they killed him. They named him Jesus. But J wasn't no J in the letters at the time in the Hebrew nor in the Greek. Right? New Testament written in Greek, Old Testament written in Hebrew. Right? So in 325, so now that's 325. So if he was born in 7 AD, he lived 33 years. Right? That's 40 AD. Not until 325 did something form called the Nicene Council. Now, the Nicene Council was formed in Rome. Right? So, who the fuck is Rome? Who is the Roman soldiers? Keep this in mind when you ponder this story. Who the fuck is Rome? In the BC period, they had a conqueror in Greece by the name of Alexander. Now, the history books say that Alexander was chosen by God, right? And it was from Alexander's conquest of the Indus Valley did they establish a methodology for ruling, and the doctrine is called the Republic, right? So when you go study the Republic, in the history of the Republic, it was pontificated upon in the, what they used to call it when they used to have a word. Before it was called debate, it was called rhetoric. So in the rhetoric, the rhetoric that was being tossed around on the Senate floors of Rome was called a republic. Now, they call this government over here a democratic republic. Republic means ruled by law. Democracy supposed to mean ruled by the people. A democratic republic is the people establish a law that governs the entirety of the land. Right? So now, in Rome, they changed the gender of God. Well, right, what the fuck you mean in Rome? They changed the gender of God. Which God gender was switched? Why did they switch that one? And how can you show me? It's real simple. They tell us we in hell already, right? Hell is Helen. Helen settled Greece before the Etruscans settled Rome. I'm gonna let that sink in. The Hellenists were Egyptians of the I-10 priests, the same family and blood as Tut, right? Same family and blood as King Tut, all right? Except in like 12 BC to 7 BC, somewhere up in there, you got this love affair and this queen named Cleopatra trying to hold on to the rulership rights of Egypt as Rome is advancing to conquer. So she got two dudes she's dealing with, Mark Antony, and she's dealing with I forgot that motherfucker name. Brutus. No, Caesar. Julius Caesar. One of them fucking Caesars, them gay ass motherfuckers. Anyway, so Cleopatra trying to hold on to the matriarchy. Right now, when Rome get the control of the deities, right? They change Helen. They change Helen from a female in Greece to a male in Rome. All you gotta do is put it side by side. Roman pantheon, Greek pantheon. The Greek culture is called Hellenistic culture. The Roman culture is called Greco-Roman culture. Because Rome conquered Greece, but they put Greece first in order to delude the minds of the people into believing that Greece conquered Rome. Why would they want to do that? All right, so now, we're just going to follow the narrative they're giving us. I'm just going over the story in broad strokes, because this shit detailed in a motherfucker. I'm using broad strokes. All right, now, 325, right? Subtract 40 from 325, you get 285 years since the so-called crucifixion took place. That's if he was born in 7 AD. Now, the true math is the key to unlock the Christ code, but that's not where we at right now. So in 325, they assembled the Nicene Council. They got all of the leaders in one room, right? These leaders were mystics, priests, they call pagan ritual leaders, basically coven leaders, male and female. But the council erased any female that was in there. So you won't never know that it was women in the Nicene Council unless you can remote view it. Now, in the Nicene Council, they established something that they call the Nicene Creed. Look that shit up. Now, this is in the 300s. The Etruscans is taking over, they establish in Rome, in Europe. Once Rome is established, Europe go into what they call the Dark Ages. Now remember, they said that the Moors civilized Europe. They taught them art, science, music. They taught them philosophy, religion. They penned Latin as a language. Greek was penned by Egyptian priests. Latin was penned by Etruscan Moorish priests. I understand the difference. Okay, now, they got a scholarly language now in 725 or the 700s in the AD period. So we're talking 400 years of Catholic Church domination before they can get enough stronghold in Europe to bring them in mass. So the history books tell us the Moors, the Etruscans, went into Europe in the Dark Ages around 700, and they occupied Europe all the way up until 1611 when their final stronghold over Europe was broken. This is the story. This is the history they gave us. Now, in this story that they telling us, a couple of things is happening over this, from the 700s to the 1600s. So we're talking almost 1,000 years, 900 and some years of occupation by the Moors, right? Why in the fuck did they get kicked out of Europe if they were civilizing these people? And where in the fuck did they go? And why did they go there? Right? Nobody not asking none of them questions. They're just following the narrative that they gave us. Okay, so we're going to follow the narrative. In 1611, they finally got the stronghold broke. And they kicked them all out. Right? Why are they kicking these people out of Europe? What are they doing over there After you get done civilizing somebody, now they so civilized, how did they kick them out? Right? Ask the question. How did they get the Moors kicked out of Europe? Spanish motherfucking Inquisition, the motherfucking, all of the rebellions to the crown in Europe caused them to put in what they call a fictitious royal family, a cat's paw, a figurehead, a face, a front. Where did these motherfuckers go? All of them didn't leave Europe. Many of them end up going into seclusion, right? In the Depression Mountains with all of the motherfucking gold. What the fuck is Depression Mountains? If you go back, there was an empire that was called Prussia in the north of Europe. The Prussian Empire is where you get your Khazarians, mulattoes, Moorish, European hybrid children from. Right? Now, you got to understand what's taking place all over the world at the time. At this time, Rome is fighting Huns, Rome is fighting Mongolians, and Rome is still fighting off the Babylonian empires. Like 30 motherfuckers. So now all this shit going on, they capturing POWs in warfare. From the Huns, from the Mongolians, and from the Hindus of Hindustan that wasn't India yet. Now, in the middle of this, in 1492, some motherfucker named Christopher Columbus supposed to discover America. I'm gonna let y'all marinate on that. Some European in 1492 named Christopher Columbus supposed to discover America. It's a problem with that. I'm just trying to let that sink in. In 1492, the Spanish crown sent somebody named Christopher Columbus to find an alternate trade route to Hindustan that wasn't called India yet. That sink in. Because they tell us in the history books, in the textbooks in the school, that when Christopher Columbus came, he was looking for an alternate trade route and he got lost and thought he was in India. That don't make no sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes zero amount of sense. First of all, Pietro del Negro is a Moorish navigator. And the navigators can tell you where you at in the middle of the ocean by the position of the stars without seeing no land. But they're telling us Columbus got lost. Not only are they telling us he got lost, they telling us that when he finally found land, he just struck up on some land. We know it today as Hispaniola was what they called it. When he landed there, he named it Hispaniola. Today is Dominica, Haiti. Okay. So now, Columbus got lost, is what they telling us. And he thought he was in India. How is this possible when India is not India yet? This in your textbook, in your school, that they teaching your children is bullshit. Columbus got lost. He got lost. And in the course of him getting lost, he thought he was in India and called the people Indians. But the problem is, India wasn't India yet. Can anybody see what I'm saying here? Columbus got lost and he said he was in India, but India wasn't called India yet. What the fuck is these people talking about? This the story they gave us now. This the narrative. Now, he said when he got here, he met some copper-colored people. Now, let that sink in. in his diaries, because you can go, they will print that shit out. They got the book. They got all of his log from when well, most of it is in there, but some of the shit they wanted to keep secret, they left it out. He thought he was in India, but India wasn't named India yet. But we were known as Indinka. We was known as Inca. But we weren't known as no India. They called us Indico, which became known as Indigo, as we refer to the children now as Indigo children. But it wasn't no fucking India. Where does nigga think he going? Are y'all not catching that part? Okay, let's go on with the narrative. So once he got over here, he went back to Europe, and he told Ferdinand and Isabella he discovered a new world. Okay, I got a person. Somebody want to come in. I'm gonna let him in and see what we got going on here.
Let it spring off. Go get a 2-piece sauce in that cocoa bean with the shit.
You ain't all the way clear yet. You ain't all the way clear yet. You got to clear up some more. Where your camera at? Turn your camera on. See, this is the bullshit they be on social media. So I'm gonna keep on talking, right? Yeah. Yeah, they dropped her out the call. Try to log back in if you're trying to get back in. Now they telling us, this is a story they want us to believe. Now you gotta remember, they can't fool us no more because we know the story. I'm going over it with y'all right now. Pietro del Negro, in order to be a navigator, right? The navigators of the day were the most highly educated non-priest class. But many of them were also priests, right? The navigators, the ones who know how to read the stars, map the stars to what's going on Earth, right? They were the highest form of education that was not a priest. And many of them were also priests. Now, catch-22, you starting to get it. He was sent by niggas. He wasn't sent by niggas. He was brought. Pietro del Negro is the name of the nigga that brought him over here. Right? His name is, they call him Peter the Black in English. In Latin and Spanish, they call him Pietro del Negro. Right? Peter the Little Black. Sometimes they call him Pietro del Negrito. But no matter how you cut it, he was a black motherfucking skinned motherfucker named Peter. Right? So that's not a problem. But when Columbus get back to Europe, he reported to Isabella and Ferdinand, I discovered a whole new world. This is the beginning, right here, the beginning of the New World Order. Because watch what happened. Immediately upon returning and telling Isabella and Ferdinand of their discovery of the so-called New World, Isabella and Ferdinand told him, don't tell nobody until we get some flags all up and down that motherfucker. Right? But the word got out. When the word got out, something happened. Right? Something happened when the word got out. Y'all remember the history, what they told us. Oh, don't worry about it. We got this shit covered. So once they got over there and they start spreading the word about the new world that Columbus and the nigga Peter the Negro, They discovered the new world. Now, first of all, let me stop right here. Let me tell you. So the history says that Christopher Colombo, or his name was Cristóbal Colombo, was a what you call that? Sephardic Jew. Now, this became disturbing to me because we got three main classes of Jew in modern era. We got Ashkenazi, we got Sephardi, and we got Khazarian. And not one of these motherfuckers, not one, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, or Khazarian is one of the 12 children or tribes of Israel. Go look it up. Who the fuck is these motherfuckers? I already gave y'all the spoiler on the Khazarians. Right? Now, they call the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi are known as the Spanish Jew and the French Jew in modern colloquial terminology. Both of them are Latin subcultures. French is a subculture language of Latin. Latin is the parent language of French, Spanish, Italian, and Dutch, and a couple more. Latin is the parent language. So the French, the Italians, and the Spaniards are connected by linguistics that was written by Etruscan Moors. All right, now that y'all get this part, when they all start coming over here, who came first? Who came first in mass? They were called conquistadors. Break the word down and translate it. Conquest, Tudor. The Tudor royal family. Look them up. Google who are the Tudors. Tudor. It's an entire royal family. I see you. I see you, Simone. So they are these royal families, Tudors, right? These are a bigger family, an older family than what you call your Merovingians. Your Merovingians is a subset under the Tudors. All royal families from the gentry came by way of Tudors in Europe. So, the royal families became fractured when they got kicked out of Europe. Where the motherfuckers go? Okay, so now, what happened when they got over here? We know they came over here. So they tried to masquerade as the people of the land. Their philosophy and their thinking is this. If we can keep these people from ever realizing who they are and their blood ties to the land, we can just say we them. And we can say they came from somewhere else. And if we tell them they came from somewhere else long enough, they bound to believe it. So who's writing this story? Who's telling this motherfucking narrative for us to see it as if we came on a ship? Columbus came on a ship, right? The Mayflower, them was ships. But I can't find no slave ship. I ain't the only one been looking. Malachi York was looking for a slave ship. He couldn't find one either. Dane Calloway been looking for a slave ship. He can't find one. Nation of Islam been looking for a slave ship, and they can't find one. But we can find immigrant ships. We can find immigrant ships from Europe that also stopped in Africa because it's in their log. I didn't make the shit up. It's in their log. They wrote that shit. So we know they pathological liars. So do we believe them or do we don't? They wrote that we came on ships. My mama told me we ain't come on no fucking ships. She don't know what them people talking about. Well, who is these motherfuckers that came on the ship? Those are what you call your black people, BLAQ. It's a legal terminology and a legal classification of a subset of a group of people. And it ain't got nothing to do with their skin color. Right? They the same motherfuckers kicked these motherfuckers out of Europe. So if they kicked them out of Europe, why are they coming over here to the great melting pot? Right? And what's this one drop of blood doctrine? Right? You own it, Shatoya, Moors. But it's two kinds of Moors. Because the legalese was used to confuse the issue at hand. What the fuck you talking about, Rod? The legalese was used to confuse the issue. Okay. So in our culture and how we have developed in these here so-called United States of America, the legalese is the language lawyers talk. Medicalese is the language doctors talk. Colloquial language is the language commoners talk. And then you have what you call political jargon, which is the gentry. These four classifications of royal hierarchy. When you know the medicalese, the legalese, the gentralese, and the colloquial language, they can't trick you no more. Trickery out the door. Right? So now we got these motherfuckers telling us we ain't from here. They contracted with what we call Dawes Indians. If your family traced back to the Dawes, that means either two things. Either your family was inserted to steal a birthright, or your family was injected to remove a birthright. The Dawes.
Yeah, that's it. That shit is hilarious. Who did that one? It's the only ones that, okay, I remember I had to go back. Okay, is that it right there?
Yeah, I want you to go the other way. You was going the right way.
Okay, but I went to the bottom.
Right. No, that ain't all of them. It's a whole lot of stuff. But we're gonna skip over the Mercury retrograde. We're finna get into this Dawes shit. All these is part of the post. Right. Now.
Your damn shit. No wonder they block it.
Keep going. Okay, slow down. Let's look at this for a minute. Let's look at this whole picture. Look at the top of it. Go to the top of it and see what they say.
Come on, baby. Stop playing.
What it say?
They taught us we came to America on a slave ship in the 15th century.
Now, what the other part say? What's the bottom of the picture say?
But the artifacts show we were already here in America 7th century AD.
Well, what's the picture of the artifacts? What in the hell? Do that look like a pale skinned Indian to you?
No, they look like them damn the ones them Huns. Like the Huns mixed with the black, mixed with the
This is a long time ago. This 7th century.
Yeah.
Right. So they tried to tell us that all of the Asians came over the Bering Straits through Alaska and populated the what we call the Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they try to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to the pictures. Let's keep going. We got to get to these Dawes shit. Because we got to see who these dirty players is that's doing this bullshit. Oh, I seen the turkey. I was out. The turkey standing in front of the car.
That's fire.
I ain't never seen a turkey over there. That's Lucifer.
You get a good picture of him right there.
Mm-hmm.
He fattening up for the Thanksgiving, so we can.
Oh yeah, I might not never see a turkey in that spot again.
That turkey represents a sign. It represents a certain energy. That bird, that turkey.
Yeah, the turkeys mean chief.
Yeah, and strong bird. It's a strong bird too. One of the turkeys, one of the strong birds.
That's what your Chiefs is, the strong bird.
Yeah.
This James Brown, please.
But hey, that's rare though. That's rare to see a single turkey like that out there.
Yeah, and especially where I saw him at.
Yeah, that's rare.
All right, now we're about to start getting to the good part.
Yeah, I like this picture right here. That's fire. I'm gonna say that one.
Oh, whoa, we got to read that because that's important. If y'all got to be aware of this, the day is coming soon where good men are going to have to do. Scroll down, we read the rest of it.
Oh, damn, my bad.
They say the day is coming soon where good men are going to have to do bad things to very bad people. That's the day I want. That's where I want to get cut loose at, right there.
Damn.
All right, here we go. We're about to get into it.
Oh, it's still loading up. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Just going in all of the pictures we went over earlier and everything.
Yeah.
I had to set up in case the rest of the pictures didn't go through. We would have to be going through all of this. Oh, go back up. One picture before this one.
This one picture we went to go over. Yeah, that red.
Yeah, because this is the Mongol Empire. Scroll up a little bit so you can see where Rome was to the left over there. You can see the other way. Okay. A little bit more.
Damn, stop. Come on, baby.
You see where the boot is, the Italy right there on the top left?
Right here? The
boot. It's right up in that area though, but it's the boot of Italy.
Yeah, I see it. Right here. Right.
Okay, now the middle, that's the Middle East right there, directly to the right, the left of the red.
Yeah.
Right, this is going, now you're going over to Turkey and all over in there, Macedonia and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's under that, you got India in the middle, and then you got Asia, that's China. All that's China over there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And where you see the to the left, you can see the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
The Gulf, the Persian Gulf over there to the left. Mm-hmm. And then you can see Egypt. Right. In that Egypt. Now, years ago, everything that you see south of the Mediterranean, that was all Egypt going into India. India used to be Eastern Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, let's go to the next picture.
Okay.
The next one gonna be the Huns. We already seen them, so we're gonna skip the ones we already did. So these is the people they kidnapping and using as servants to bring over here to conquer and to use them. Here we go. We're getting there now. You see what that say?
Yeah, Dawes that.
Yeah. You see where it say Indian land? Did it show him eating the ground?
Yeah.
Okay, now we about to get into the Dawes role. Let's go, young elder. What the people saying in the comments? I can't see them.
Man, they saying game over. They saying, man, this shit is on fire. We the hottest niggas in the game right now. That's what they said.
All right, let's go to the top of this picture because this picture right here is important.
Okay.
See it? Dawes Act of 1887. Now we 100 years into the war contract from 1776. All right. So it implied Indian ways were inferior to white ways. Now remember, when they talking about white people, they're not talking about pale-skinned Europeans. They talk about European nobility who came over here as Etruscan Moors, as conquistadors, as Frenchmen, Englishmen, and Dutch. Mm-hmm. Right? You got to always remember that. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, we under the impression, based on the way that they lead us to believe the term white man mean, that they talk about a pale skin like this dude sitting here. Mm-hmm. Right? But this is not what they're talking about. It said the Dawes role was aimed to bring Indians into mainstream of American life by making them live like the white man. Mm-hmm. And so it's trying to make you be something that you're not.
Okay, go ahead. You going in?
That's out the gate. Is telling you that right there. Okay, now what's the next one? The Indian resisted. That's standalone statement. The Indians resisted. All right, now you look at his name.
It's Senator Henry
Dawes. That's who the Dawes Roll was named after, right? Okay, now let's go to the next one.
Got the ass. Somebody in the comments say Rod Hayes, get these niggas, man. Get these niggas, man.
Okay, now let's go over this. What was the 1887 Dawes Severalty Act?
Go ahead.
Right? Now, it said the Dawes Act granted the president authority to divide up native lands into individual allotments. Land was placed in trust for 25 years. Excess land could be bought by the federal government and sold to non-natives. 1902, the Dead Indian Act. This is what makes you a straw man right here. 1902. Now, this is all under the Dawes Roll.
Keep it in mind. Go ahead.
All right. The 1902 Dead Indian Act allowed natives to sell inherited land even if still in trust status. Think about that for a minute. You can't sell trust if you're a trustee. All right. As many natives were impoverished, the sale of land provided income to live. Now look at the name of that. The Dead Indian Act.
Damn.
Right? First of all, the term Indian is a misnomer. I mean, a false name. Okay? Followed by the Burke Act of 1904, authorized Secretary of the Interior to determine competency of landowners. Now, remember, we were talking about 3/5 compromise, right? We're talking about $5 Indians, and this is how we become compromised to the 3/5 scenario. Authorized Secretary of the Interior to determine competency of landowners. If competent, the land was distributed out of the trust and then taxed. If incompetent, land could be sold without the owner's consent. Okay, now let's read the other side. Go back to the top. The Dawes Act, subsequent legislation decimated native land holdings and failed to spur natives to assimilate into American culture. Its failure is among the many broken U.S. promises that ultimately devastated native culture. Right? Let's see what else it say. Native land holders are now showing you what's called a pie chart. 48 million acres remained by 1934. Native land holdings were reduced by 90 million acres because of the Dawes Act. They keep telling me they stole our land, but every time I look out my window, I swear our shit's still sitting here under our feet.
Got them.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, now that's history chart on the Dawes Roll and related acts. Now look, notice Cherokee, Freedmen, enrollment. That word in the middle is important.
Freeman.
Do you know what that means?
No.
Like that means that you are a more of status classified as a free white person in law. You are classified then under the term of freedman in the jurisdiction of the de facto corporation. That's a whole different people. See where it say Cherokee? That name was made up to facilitate what we're about to read.
Damn, go ahead.
That's not our original name, but that's the name they gave us in order to commission the 5 civilized tribes.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so now we're going into Muskogee Indian Territory. From April the 1st, 1902 until May 31st. Now you see this is an ongoing process. It didn't happen in one day.
Yeah.
Because remember, the Dawes Roll started in the 1880s. Now we are 20-something years later, they still working on stealing our shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. It's a inclusive for the purpose of hearing rebuttal and supplemental testimony with respect to the enrollment of Cherokee freedmen. That's a double motherfucking negative.
Mm-hmm.
Dick, you can't be a Cherokee freedman.
Right.
Because you have to change your status to a freedman as an indenture in order to become a free white person in law, meaning that you had to get from under your servitude commission by the people that brought you over here.
Mm-hmm.
Notice is hereby given to all freedmen listed as doubtful claimants that after May 31st, 1902, their case will be considered as completed and will be finally decided by the commission and reported to the Secretary of the Interior for his approval. Native Cherokees, now you see the comma?
Yeah. Yeah.
Freedmen, you see the comma?
They're separate.
Right. Or that's okay. This is separate from both of them. Claimants by adoption who have not already appeared can apply for enrollment July 1902. You see the word adoption?
You're right.
What does that mean?
It means that they added it on or drafted it in.
Right. So if it's a claimant by adoption, that means that you claiming that somebody in the tribe adopted you and gave you some kind of birthright.
Yep. Still in our birthrights. Y'all cool. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, let's go on to the next one. We just showing them because they say we don't have no receipts, Elder, but they don't want to talk about this shit we talking about now.
Get these
paying to play Indian. Read this. This is paying to play Indian. Look what it say. Paying to play Indian.
Damn.
The Dawes rolls and the legacy of $5 Indians. Paying a commission $5 can get an opportunistic so-called white person on the Dawes roll 125 years ago, which still causes problems for tribes today.
Damn.
It may be fashionable to play Indian now, but it was also trendy 125 years ago when people paid $5 a piece for falsified documents declaring them native on the Dawes roll. They already know it's fake. It say it right here. Damn. Falsified documents, $5 a piece, 125 years ago, declaring them native on the Dawes roll. Let's go. We're going to get into some more of this shit. These so-called $5 Indians paid government agents under the table in order to reap the benefits that came with having Indian blood. Mainly so-called white men with an appetite for land. $5 Indians paid to register on the Dawes roll, earning fraudulent enrollment in tribes along with benefits inherited by generations to come.
Damn.
These were opportunistic so-called white men who wanted access to land and food rations, said Gregory Smithers, associate professor of history at Virginia Commonwealth University. These were people who were more than happy to exploit the Dawes Commission and government agents for $5, were willing to turn a blind eye to the graft and corruption. You see that word graft?
Yeah, that's like going in on a little on that, man.
Okay, go no, don't go nowhere. Stop. Okay. We're gonna look at that for a minute. Go back.
I'm going back.
Okay, now and the government for $5 we're willing to turn a blind eye to the graft and corruption. Who's grafted?
Right? Like who's black, like who's devil.
And if he's the devil, wouldn't that automatically make him corrupt?
Yeah.
Why? How do we know this? What do it say in the book? You are not of my father, you are your father. He was a murderer from the beginning and a liar, and there's no truth in him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's keep going.
Get these niggas right. Somebody in the crowd in the chat put get these niggas right.
The Dawes Commission established in 1894 to enforce the General Allotment Act of 1887, or the Dawes Act, was charged with convincing tribes to cede their land to the United States and divide remaining land into individual allotments. In other words, separate the unity. Look at this careful, y'all. The Dawes Commission, established in 1893 to enforce the General Allotment Act of 1887, or the Dawes Act, was charged with convincing tribes to cede their land to the United States, which is a corporation, it's a de facto, not a de jure, and divide remaining land into individual allotments. There's only one problem with this, Elder.
Go ahead.
In the Jubilee year, and I think 2022 was a Jubilee year, right? Okay. In the Jubilee year, at the close of the age, I think we're going out of Pisces into Aquarius. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. So if it's a Jubilee year at the close of an age, and at the closing of the age, everything reverts back to who it belonged to at the beginning of the age. Under the Jubilee forgiveness of all debt. All right. Now, it's important that y'all looking at this. The Dawes Commission, established in 1893 to enforce the General Allotment Act of 1887. The word that's operative at this point is enforce. What the fuck that mean?
Enforce to make your ass. You ain't got no other choice.
Right.
Bow, take it like a man. Take it up to,
Yeah. So was charged, that means that they was given power to convince the tribe by what method though?
By we're gonna kill your ass and you'll take your kid if you don't do what we tell you to do.
Right. So they want us to give our land up and break it up into individual allotments. That's so that they can divide it up and sell it off our property under our feet. The commission also required Indians to claim membership in only one tribe and register on the Dawes roll what the government meant to be a definitive record of individuals with Indian blood. This is going to come back up when we listen to Chief Warhorse in a few minutes.
Hey, can I ask you a question right here?
Huh?
Can I ask you a question? Does this tie in with the I know it's probably gonna come up but does this tie in with the Andrew Jackson Indian?
Because Andrew, exactly, 100%. Okay. Andrew Jackson was declaring people chiefs. Can you hold this and go to open up a Google page? I want you to look somebody up.
Hold on, make sure I don't do it. Okay, let's go right here.
Look up Chief White Wolf.
I got him already in your folder. Hold up. I got him in your folder. Yeah, I knew you was gonna probably say something about him, so I got his ass. Somebody say, Rod, get these niggas, man. Talking about this nigga right here, right?
You sure don't wait. That's him.
Yeah.
He was supposed to have like a 10th native blood or some bullshit, but he was declared the chief by a political figurehead. I think it was Andrew Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, who was declaring these motherfuckers chiefs. No, nobody over here ever looked at like that.
John Smith. Now, was this a damn John Smith that was going out to Pocahontas?
It could have been. More than likely it was. Remember, he didn't even come from over here. The guy that was out there, that's his soul who it is. But in the story of Pocahontas, he came from Europe.
Yeah, he did. He came from Europe. Dog niggas was in Europe.
How the fuck you get to be the chief?
Exactly. That nigga face jacked up, man.
Blow it up so they can see that motherfucker face. They need to see this motherfucker face.
Blow this nigga up. Hold on, blow this nigga up, bro. Boy, he could be had like he's scaly, got a scaly type, reptilian type face. Look at his
man.
nose.
That motherfucker looked like he got whooped in the face with an ugly stick.
Man, he got beat bad. But why he so damn black with that white straight hair like this?
He ain't black.
What is he, burnt? You know what I'm saying? Shit, burnt.
Look, that's why his nose looked like that from being burned and exposed to the sun, and he can't take it.
Oh yeah,
his nose has got calluses.
Go ahead, you can see it. You can see it. Yeah, go ahead. You can see that he got this. He gets sunburned.
So his story, this picture right here, he's supposed to be like 100 and something years old.
Okay. That's another reason too. He 100 or something.
Yeah, but black don't crack.
No, black don't crack like this though. My grandma was 100 and something. She ain't look like this.
Anybody that know people know where that motherfucker come from.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's get back to the post. We got some more Dawes Road reading to do.
Yeah, I like this. I like your post on your page. You got some good shit. All right, let's roll that back, baby. That pull back up, please. Where were we? Hold on, we were right here. All right.
Keep going. That's just a commercial. The Curtis Act, passed in 1898, targeted the 5 civilized tribes. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They call these the 5 civilized tribes, and they changing the names.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically Cherokee and Seminole. Seminole should be Gullah or Gullah Getcha.
Mm-hmm.
And Cherokee is a whole nother word. I can't even pronounce that shit right now because my mind ain't over there. Mm-hmm. But the Curtis Act, passed in 1898, targeted the 5 civilized tribes, forcing them to accept allotments and register on the dog roll. Now, here's the key thing. It says to accept allotments. What does that mean?
To accept reservations, I think.
Absolutely. See, so they was moving to put $5 Indians on reservations using this system. Mm-hmm. Okay, say the 2 acts which came, scroll down. During the period of murky social context. See what that say?
Mm-hmm. Murky social context. These niggas be wording some shit, man.
Right. Now,
not clear. I mean, it's not clear. It's not a clear,
right,
decisive, All
right, now look. This is where the murky social context come in. After the Civil War, when white and so-called black men were intermarrying with Native American women, aimed to help the government keep track of real Indians, while accelerating efforts to assimilate Indian people into so-called white culture. Mm-hmm. Right? So this is what murkied the waters, the 1 drop of blood doctrine, the great melting pot. Everybody giving up a drop of blood, and then they all coming together to try to confuse the genetics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's keep going. We ain't done. By 1865, African Americans and white Americans were moving into the Midwest, into the Indian and Oklahoma territories, all vying for some patch of land that they could call their own and live out their Jeffersonian view of independence. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Scroll down. Let's read some more. Yes. He said the federal government poured a lot of effort and energy into the Dawes Commission, but at the same time, it was very hard for both Native and American governments to keep track of who was who. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, this is important when we get to the Trail of Tears.
Okay.
The Dawes Commission set up tents in Indian territory. They told us that we lived in teepees.
Yeah.
Right?
Get the hell out of here with that shit. Go ahead.
Look, go back to Google for a minute. We're going to come back to this page, but we're going to go to Google and type in Hun's tents. HUN' tents. And then go to images. Okay.
They look like these right here, though. They look like these right here, I know. Kind of like these.
Those modern tents.
Yeah, but they're like the old ones.
Put in ancient in front of it.
Yeah, that's right. Let me do it like that. So there you go, right here. Like this kind. Right here. Mm-hmm. The richer guys had like a more of a nice one though, but like the kings and shit. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing as those.
We didn't live in tents, but I'm gonna show you that in a minute. But first, we're looking at these tents. Now, take out Hun and put in Mongol.
All right. All right, it's the Mongol. Let me say these in my that folder. Damn. Mm-hmm.
That one you clicked on have a Sri Yantra on the front.
Because I'm putting a book together called Young Elder and the Roy Haynes book. Of the stuff over. I'm going into more detail on it.
Hey, look, you know what's out cold? Motherfuckers be talking about, I remember a lot of stuff. All this shit come from Baba, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, and the government.
Yeah. This is a good one right here. And the same people was building those igloos with the ice.
Yeah, but they also got teepees. They also got nomadic tents that they carried around with them that wasn't so big. And those are the ones that they said was our teepees.
And it was only for traveling, right? For these people that traveled when they were traveling, going to battle people.
Right. Because all of the Huns and the Mongols were nomads. They was always on the go. They didn't set up farming camps.
They call it a jir, also called Yura, is a Mongoloid is a Mongoloid tent home. Imagine living in a home that looked like a piece of candy, a Hershey's Kiss, but it's 9 feet height, 15 feet round. Actually, a jir might look rather odd, but they were very comfortable. So it's the Mongoloid. Let me blow it.
So they can fold their house up and go leave at any given time. All right, let's get back to the business at hand. We can go back to that later on. We're gonna pull up a TP from over there, in Asian TP.
Okay.
All right, so the Dawes Commission set up tents in Indian territory. Right, this is somebody named Bill Welch, Director Emeritus of the Oklahoma Historical Society Office of American Indian Culture and Preservation.
Dang, hold up. I don't want it to freeze up while we're doing it. Hold up. There you go. My bad. There you go.
Okay. It's their field clerks scoured written records. Scroll down. Okay. Took oral testimony. Remember, we do everything orally anyway.
Yeah.
And generated enrollment cards for individuals determined to have Indian blood. Now, remember, they didn't have blood tests back then.
Yeah.
How the fuck they know who got Indian blood?
Right.
You gotta keep that in mind because they make it sound like they can just run a blood test like they can now, pull your DNA and say, oh, you Chickasaw, you Choctaw, you Cherokee, you Ojibwe, right? They couldn't do that back then. So look what they're doing. They took oral testimony and scoured written record.
Yeah.
Right? All right, now, that's good. That included authentic Indians. How do they know they're authentic?
They're right. Yeah.
They declaring them authentic under the Dawes Roll. But it also included lots of people with questionable heritage. And you see it, and they already know this shit that I'm telling y'all. So this is not a secret. Commissioners took advantage of their positions and enrolled people who had very minimal or questionable connections to the tribes. They were not adverse to taking money under the table. What you say?
What you say?
What you say? They can't be doing that. Look at this say. Index to final rolls of citizens and freed men of the 5 civilized tribes in Indian territory, prepared by the Commission and Commissioner. Biggie Smalls, the Commission. American Indian Removal Policy and the Trail of Tears. Now we're getting good. Andrew Jackson policy led to a shameful episode in U.S. history. And this is who we talking about.
The nigga on a $20 bill. That's why I don't like 20s, man. That's why I don't like 20s right there. I don't like 20s.
Well, I spend the shit out the motherfuckers. I don't plan on putting nothing up in no frame, no way. All right, now look. The American Indian Removal Policy of President Andrew Jackson was prompted by the desire of so-called white settlers in the South to expand into lands belonging to the 5 indigenous tribes. After Jackson succeeded in pushing the Indian Removal Act through Congress in 1830, the U.S. government spent nearly 30 years forcing indigenous people to move westward beyond the Mississippi River. This is the Trail of Tears.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
But that's going to come back up because that's part of the biblical contract.
Mm-hmm.
In the most notorious example of this policy, more than 15,000 members of the Cherokee tribes were forced to walk from their homes in southern states to a designated territory in present-day Oklahoma in 1838. Now, this is before the Dawes Roll.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Damn.
Many died along the way. The forced relocation became known as the Trail of Tears because of the great hardship faced by Cherokees. In brutal conditions, nearly 4,000 Cherokee died on the Trail of Tears.
Mm-hmm.
Go back up and look how long this took place. Look how long this was going on. Go back up.
Go back right here.
Right there. They spent nearly 30 years forcing indigenous people to move westward beyond the Mississippi.
Man.
Right? Now, where do this happen? Somewhere in the Bible. Don't this happen somewhere in the Bible? Somebody was traveling around for 30, 40 years because they ain't had no homeland.
The Israelites.
Where was they coming from?
They were coming from ancient Kemet.
Mm-hmm. Who was they following?
Who they following? Moses.
Okay, and Elijah Muhammad said Moses did what?
Go ahead. I can't remember.
Elijah Muhammad said Moses was the one that was sent to civilize the so-called pale man.
Yeah, okay, yeah, to put the boat. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I'm with you.
Remember, he said Moses had to sleep in the ring of fire because they were so savage they might eat him in his sleep.
Right. Go ahead. That's right.
Right? Yeah. Now, in here is 30 years. The biblical stories say 40 years.
Okay.
So it's a 40-year sojourn.
Okay.
Right? So this 30 years take us to 1860, 40 years take us to 1870, about 12 years before the Dawes Roll Act.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So from 1830 to the Dawes Roll, okay, go over to Google and pull Dawes Roll up again. We got to get the exact year again.
I got you. We hitting it. We in the zone right now. YouTube, hit that like button if you're in the building, man. We got 558 people in this joint, man. Everybody hit that like button for us, man.
Are you seeing any questions coming about what we're talking about in the comments?
Yeah, we got a couple questions. We're gonna take questions in about another 5 minutes because we're gonna get off at 10:30. Then we'll come back tomorrow if we have to on this subject because this is
tomorrow. I got Brother Rich.
Okay. Oh yeah,
Black Magic 63.
At what time you doing that one?
I think 9:30.
Okay, all right. Man. Man, this is sticky. Man, bro.
What you pulling up? I can't see that.
I'm pulling up the Dawes Roll, but it like my shit was sticking. Don't let me type in there you go right here. It's the year is 1898. Hold up. Hold on, let me go back. Just find out. Okay. The Dawes Roll, also known as the Final Roll, are listed individuals who accepted eligible tribe membership in the 5 indigenous tribes: Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. It does not include those whose application was stricken, rejected, or judged to be doubtful. Probably some dark-skinned people, right? Real Indians tried to file and they got shot down, right? Those found eligible for the Final Roll were entitled to we just had read that, right? Allotments of land, usually as a homestead.
Mm-hmm.
The roll contained more than 101,000 names from 1898 to 1914, primarily from 18.
Okay, we just looking for the year right now, Elder, the year that it was passed again. So you go back to the main page, the year shouldn't be hard to find. It should be right there.
Okay, right here. Okay, I got it. Hold up. I got you. It's the year is 1893.
Okay, so from 1830 to 1893, that's further than 40 years of sojourn waiting to have a reservation.
Yeah.
Right, actually 63 years, ain't it?
Yeah, yeah. It says from 1893 all the way up into it's a long time. Hold up.
I thought it was first passed in the 1880s.
Hold up, like let me make sure this right here is right. It says right here 1893. So hold up. What year? Okay. 1887 is the date.
Okay. Now that's more closer to the date I was thinking.
All right. The 1880.
So that's 47 years still though. That's the 40-year sojourn of the so-called Israelites.
Yeah.
Now this is now remember, while this is going on, let's go back to my Google page, my Facebook.
Okay.
So while this is going on, the Indian Removal Act, right? They marching across the land, but they're supposed to be coming from the South.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that know basic American history know that the South was about 90% melanated us.
Mm-hmm.
So where did these pale people come from in the South?
Exactly.
They couldn't have been there. So we're going to go to where they come from in the next one. We just reviewing Dawes Road now, right? So scroll down. Let's read some more. There have been conflicts between whites and indigenous people since the first so-called white settlers arrived in North America, but in the early 1800s, the issue had come down to the so-called white settlers encroaching on the indigenous lands in the southern United States. Now, here go the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Martin Luther King, talking about the mechanizing of the farms.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's telling you what was going on during this period right here. This is the period of time he's talking about when they began to mechanize the farms, and they hired us to teach the so-called settlers how to farm the land.
Mm-hmm.
All of the indigenous people know that we had to teach the people that came to the land how to farm because none of them knew how to work the unique land that was over here better than we did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, 5 indigenous tribes were located on land. Notice they specify on land that would be highly sought for settlement.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as was prime land for the cultivation of cotton. The tribes on the land were the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Over time, the tribes in the South tended to adopt the so-called white ways, such as taking up farming in the tradition of white settlers, which we taught them how to farm. This is a known historical fact that all of us know without even asking who taught the so-called pale people how to farm. Remember the Mayflower came, they was dying of starvation because they didn't know how to cultivate food.
That's right.
Right. So in some cases, even buying and owning enslaved Black people. They got to throw that in there, right?
They had to put that out for now.
I like that right there. I see what the problem is here. I'm talking English and you listening and dumbass. I might look calm, but I just slapped you in my head 3 times.
That's how 15.
Okay, in fact, settlers hungry for land were actually dismayed to see these tribes, contrary to all the grotesque propaganda about them being savages, adopted the farming practices of white Americans.
Yeah,
this don't even make sense. This is not even possible.
Yeah, right.
Right? But this is the story, the narrative they're giving us. So we're gonna work with it. The accelerated desire to relocate indigenous people to the West was a consequence of the election of Andrew Jackson in 1828. Jackson had a long, complicated history with indigenous tribes, having grown up in frontier settlements where stories of attacks by them were common. Right? Now, before we go any further, we need to hear Chief Warhorse.
Let's go.
So can you open up another page to open up that second post I sent you?
Hey, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're in the building. Hit that bell. If you don't receive a notification from us,